Good day, everyone. We are the last group, Group 9. Our assigned topic is about perspective of strategy. Before we proceed to our discussion, I would like to introduce my group mates, Zamora Angel May, Viliasis Anna, and me, Tubuhan Hazel May. In this chapter, we will go over the popular and much discussed military, games, and economic strategies. It is our hope that from these stratagems we can get valuable insights into the nature of the modern day business practices and management. Military perspective of strategy. It poses the question of whether management and militarization are the same, or if there are significant similarities and differences between the two. The boardrooms to battlefield suggesting that doing business or running an organization is similar to fighting a war. It states that strategies are like the guns and ammunition used in battle. Two famous books on warfare, Sun Tzu's The Art of War and Miyamoto Musashi's The Book of Five Rings. These books are often cited for their strategic principles that can be applied to various fields including business. Sun Tzu's The Art of War. It is considered the oldest military treatise in Chinese literature. It is included in the Seven Military Classics, a collection of important Chinese military texts. The book has undergone numerous translations, with scholars striving to preserve the original meaning. Historical records suggest that Sun Tzu was a military general who successfully led many battles. His tactics and advice were compiled into The Art of War. The Art of War is a highly influential and ancient military treatise in China. Despite its age, the book continues to be studied and applied in various fields, including business and leadership. Miyamoto Musashi's The Book of Five Rings. The book was written during the Sengoku period 1467 to 1615 in Japan, a time of intense warfare and political instability. Powerful feudal lords named daimyo fought for control over land and power, while the central government was weak. Oda Nobunaga emerged as dominant figure, unifying much of Japan through military force. His successor, Toyotomi Hideyoshi, continued his process of consolidation, further centralizing power. The samurai were a warrior class that had significant social and political power. They were allowed to carry two swords. A long sword is named katana, and a shorter sword named wakizashi. The privilege signified this status and authority. The Book of Five Rings, it discusses the concept of the way of strategy and how it applies to different social classes in feudal Japan. Four ways of life. Musashi identifies four distinct ways in which people navigating life. The first one is gentlemen and samurai. The second one is the farmers. The third one is artisan or carpenters, and the last one is merchants. Gentlemen and samurai. This class is considered the highest in comparison officials, wealthy individuals, and of course, samurai warriors. Farmers. Farmers are placed next in the hierarchy, recognized for their vital role in providing the staple food and rice. Artisan or carpenters. Skilled craftsmen who contribute to society through their crafts. Merchants. Initially placed at the bottom, Musashi acknowledges that merchants gain increasing prominence due to the accumulating wealth. So the concept of way of strategy extends beyond military tactics. It encompasses principles of discipline, self-awareness, adaptability that can be applied to various aspects of life. So that would be all for my topic about military perspective of strategy.
Good day, everyone. My name is Anna Andaya Villases. My topic is all about Games, concept, and technologies. So it is a game theorist consider and treat all situation of strategies choices as strategies for game. Game theory is essentially linked to neoclassical economic. Next is strategic games. It is a situation characterized by interaction among players and are classified according to the timing of the play, common or conflicting interest of player, number of interaction, amount of information available, type of rules, and feasibility of coordinated action. So, next is game strategies. It is calculated and purposes and may be based on complete information, incomplete information, or new information. So there are four following characteristics of game strategies. So first is consider the environment involved intuitive skills contains the element of reciprocal fear of surprise attack and then fourth is continuous and not absolute. So the next is game with sequential moves. So it is a steps taken chronological where an action is a consequence of a move. Yeah, the example is this shown in the table figure 10.3. So the next is game with simultaneous moves. So these are taken currently under condition of incomplete or imperfect information. So the next is zero-sum games. It is a game where any benefit it gained by one it lost another. In this game, the sum of the payoff is always zero where one player loses whatever the other players win. So the example of this is shown as the table 8, 10.8. So the next is games with strategic moves. These are devices applied to work to one's advantage. To adapt this mode, the action should be observed and irreversible. So uh, there are three types of a strategic move. First is namely, second, commitment. Third is uh, threats and promises. So the next is style in game strategies. These are certain style in undertaking game strategies. They are include use of surprise, rational, irrationally collection of information. So the next is economic perspective of strategy. It is looking at strategy from a military and game perspective. Strategy from the angle of economics must be analyzed. So next is vocal boundaries of the firm. It is operation of any services involves a whole range of activities. It begins with the acquisition of raw materials and end with the distribution and sale of finished goods. So, there are three examples of major activities include production, distribution, and sales. Next is alternative to vertical integration. So, while vertical integration is not the best strategy, a variety of in-between strategies can be adapted and implemented to take advantage of the benefits of both worlds. So, there are four mixtures of perform and buy strategies. So the first is tapered integrations. Second is strategic alliances. Third is implicit contract. The fourth is collaborative relationship. That's all. Thank you.
Good day, everyone. So, I am the last reporter, and the next topic is economics perspective of strategy. So, in addition to looking at strategy from a military and game perspective, strategy from the angle of economics must be analyzed. Although different strategic situations continually evolve due to inevitable variables of growth and change, there are durable principles that are applicable to these emerging scenarios. And such theories can guide strategics in understanding better how firms compete and thereby providing them basis when making strategic decisions. So for a start, let us try to demonstrate the applicability of these principles at 3 points in time, um, namely 1840, 1910, and today. So economists deliberately choose these dates for the following reasons. The year 1840 was typified small local markets, while from 1840 to 1910 saw the rise of big corporations, and then today information technology is changing the business landscape. So let us compare these periods with respect to the parameters cited on this table. So we have here in 1840 to 1910, and then today. So as you can see on the chart talks about how businesses have changed over time and focusing on three key periods. So in 1840, businesses were small and local, like family-owned stores. So they relied on things like horses and carts for transportation, and then letters for communication, and getting money was harder than in that is in the year 1840. And then in 1840 to 1910, bigger companies started to appear. Railroads made transportation faster, and the telephone made communication easier. So banks became more important for lending money. And then for today, technology has completely changed how businesses work. So we have cars, planes, and then internet, which makes moving things and talking to people super fast and easier. So we also have online banking and lots of ways to get money. So in this chart also shows that businesses need to adapt to these changes to stay successful. So for example, they need to find ways to use new technology like the internet to sell their products and reach more customers. And this chart also shows how businesses have evolved over time and how they need to keep changing to succeed in the future. So the next one is the vertical boundaries of the firm. So vertical boundaries of the firm, the production of any product or operation of any service involve a whole range of activities, and it begins with the acquisition of raw materials and ends with the distribution and sale of finished goods. And in business, this is referred to as vertical chain or supply chain management. Vertical chain consists of both major and support tasks. So examples of major activities may include production, distribution, and sales, while support activities may include market research, promotion, and janitorial and security services. So these activities are categorized as upstream and downstream. So upstream activities are those conducted in the early processes of the vertical chain, while those in the latter stages are called downstream activities. And and then, as you can see in this figure, it is an example of a vertical chain in the production of confectionery. So in vertical boundaries of the firm, it talks about two types of activities. So the first one is major activities, and then the second one is the support activities. In the major activities, these are the main steps in making the candy, getting the ingredients like sugar, etc., and making the candy, putting it in packages, and sending it to stores. And then in number two, support activities. These are things that help the company make the candy but aren't directly involved in the candy itself. So examples include um, examples in support activities include marketing, like telling people about the candy, and then in finance, managing the company, managing the company's money. Then in research, finding new ways to make the candy better. And then for promotion, giving free samples or running ads. In this part, it shows that these activities happen in a certain order, starting with getting the ingredients and ending with selling the candy. So this is what we call vertical chain or supply chain. So next, we have alternatives to vertical integration. So the first one, we have tapered integration. So tapered integration of the perform and buy strategies offers several advantages. So first, it can expand both the input and output changes of the company without requiring monetary expenditures. And then moreover, the company can use information about the expenses and profitability of internal channels to help negotiate contracts with independent channels. So, and then lastly, the company can develop internal capabilities to protect itself against independent input supplies. And on the downside, tapered integration may not allow for maximum efficiency due to sharing of both internal and external channel processes. And shared production may lead to coordination problems. Thus they need for consistency and alignment. And then duplication of processes is a common possibility. So the alternatives to vertical integration, this talks about ways companies can work together instead of doing everything themselves. So in tapered integration, this is like a mix of doing things yourself and buying from others. So for example, a company might make some of its own parts but also buy some from other companies. And then next, strategic alliances result when two or more firms agree to collaborate on a project or to share resources. A strategic alliance may be horizontal, as when two firms in the same industry collaborate, or may be vertical when the partnership is between a buyer and a supplier. A joint venture is a form of strategic alliance in which two or more firms create and jointly own a new independent organization. So, this joint venture may use the workforce of both companies or may use employees from one company or none at all. So, the strategic alliances and joint ventures, these are partners where companies work together on a project or create a new company together. Then, the collaborative relationship. So, the collaborative relationships are manifested in subcontract networks and kiretsu. So, generally, Japanese industrial firms are less vertically integrated compared to Western counterparts. So they are smaller in size and more specialized in focus. And many Japanese companies maintain a high degree of collaboration and long-term commitment with their subcontractors. So collaborative relationships, this is about companies working closely with each other, like Japanese companies and their suppliers who often long-term relationships. Then the next one is implicit contract. So it is the last alternative. It is an alternative for vertical integration. An implicit contract is a tacit or unspoken understanding between parties in a business relationship. And implicit contracts exist among members of a Keiretsu. So these contracts are not explicitly drawn, and thus they are not enforceable. However, losing future business is a subtle pressure to respect and maintain the implicit contracts, most especially if the business runs to big amounts. Hence, long-term relationships are sustained. So, implicit contracts, these are unspoken agreements between companies. So, they trust each other to do the right thing even without a formal contract. So, the companies do this instead of doing everything themselves because it can be cheaper. So, buying from other companies can be more cost effective than doing everything in-house. And then the second one, it can be faster. So working with partners can help companies get things done more quickly. And then it can give them access to new skills and knowledge. So partnering with other companies can help companies learn new things and improve their products. So basically, this this talks about how companies can work together to be more successful, and they can choose to do some things themselves by from others or partner with other companies. And the best approach is depends on the specific situation. So next one is the horizontal boundaries of the firm. So aside from the vertical boundaries of a firm, there are parameters that consider a company's horizontal boundaries. So whereas vertical boundaries stress on the activities that a company performs, the horizontal boundaries of a firm include um, two things: the quantity of products, and then the quantity of products produced and services rendered, and the variety of these products and services. So oftentimes there are companies that produce the same product but sell them at different prices at reasonable margins of profit. One reason for the difference may be in the quantity of products sold. So in vertical boundaries talks about what the companies does itself, like making the product, shipping it, etc. In horizontal boundaries are about how much of the same thing a company makes and sells, and how many different kinds of things they offer. So think of it like this. So in quantity, like image a bakery, so they could bake just a few loaves of bread, or they could bake hundreds every day. So that's their quantity. And then in variety, they could just bake white bread, or they could make different kinds like whole wheat rye, etc. So that's their variety. And then it says that that companies that make the same stuff can still sell it at different prices. So this might be because they make and sell a lot of it higher quantity, or because they offer many different types or higher variety. And then the horizontal boundaries, in short, are about how much and how many different things a company produce and sells. The next one is the economies of scale and scope. So economies of scale is a condition that is exhibited when the average cost or the cost per unit of output declines over a range of output or product or service. So for average cost to decline as output increases, the marginal cost or the cost of the last unit produced must be less than the overall average cost. So MC is less than the average cost. So for example, so imagine that you are making motorcycles. So economies of scale happen when it gets cheaper to make each motorcycle as you make more and more of them. So here's how it works. So in average cost or AC, this is how much it costs to make one motorcycle on average. And then in marginal cost, this is the extra cost of making just one more motorcycle. So there are three things that can happen. So in economies of scale, if the cost of making one more motorcycle is less than the average cost, then your average cost goes down. So this is good because it means that you can make more motorcycles and still keep your cost low. So in this economies of scale, if the cost of making one motorcycle is more than the average cost, then your average cost goes up. So this is bad because it means it's getting more expensive to make motorcycles as you produce more. So constant returns to scale, if the cost of making one more motorcycle is exactly the same as the average cost, then your average cost stay the same. So this is neither good nor bad. So you're not saving money, but you are also not losing money. So basically, economies of scale is about how your costs change as you produce more of something. So if you can get your cost to go down as you make more, that's a good thing for your business. So next is the sources of economies of scale and scope. So there are different modes of achieving economies of scale and scope. Some of these ways are spreading of indivisible fixed costs, increasing productivity of variable costs, carrying fewer inventories, taking advantage of marketing and purchasing economies, and undertaking research and development. So the sources of economies of scale and scope, this talks about how businesses can save money by making more things or making different things. So in spreading indivisible fixed costs, so for example, imagine you own a pizza shop. So you have to buy an oven, which is a big expense. So if you only make a few pizzas, the cost of that oven is spread out over a small number of pizzas. So making each pizza more expensive. But if you make lots of pizzas, the cost of the oven is spread out over many pizzas. So making each pizza cheaper. So this is called spreading indivisible fixed costs. Then in increasing productivity of variable costs, this means that finding ways to make your workers and materials more efficient. So for example, if your if your pizza makers learn to make pizzas faster, or if you find a way to use less cheese on each pizza, then you will save money. And then in carrying fewer inventories, if you have a lot of pizza ingredients sitting around in your warehouse, you are spending money on storage, and you risk the ingredients going bad. So by ordering just the right amount of ingredients, you can save money. And the number 4 is exploiting marketing and purchasing economies. So this means that finding ways to save money on advertising and buying supplies. So for example, if you own a pizza shop and an Italian restaurant, so you can advertise both businesses together, so which can save you money. You can also buy ingredients in bulk, which can get you a discount. And the number 5 is procuring in bulk quantities. So this means buying things in large amounts, which can often get you a discount. So for example, if you buy a whole truckload of flour at once, then you might get a better price than if you buy small bags of flour each week. And then conducting research and development. So if you spend money on research and development, you can come up with new and improved products or ways of making your products and this can save you money in the long run. And then next is, so in simple terms, this talks about different ways that businesses can become more efficient and save money. So by spreading cost, using resources wisely, and finding ways to do things better, businesses can become more profitable. So lastly is the learning curve. So the concept of the learning curve is highly related to economies of scale. So kaning learning curve, iyang concept is very similar to economies of scale. So in economies of scale means that the cost of making something goes down as you make more of it. And then the learning curve is about how your workers get better at making something as they do it over and over again. So imagine that you are learning to ride a bike. So at first, it's hard and you might fall down a lot. But as you practice more and more, you get better and better. So you learn how to balance, how to steer, and how to stop. So you become more efficient at riding the bike. So it's the same with making things. So when workers first start making a product, they might make mistakes, waste materials, and take a long time to finish. But as they do it more and more, they get faster, they make fewer mistakes, and they learn how to do things more efficiently. So this means that the cost of making each product goes down as workers become more experienced. And this is the learning curve in action. And basically, the learning curve is about how people get better at things over time which leads to lower costs and higher efficiency. So, that's all for my part. Thank you for listening.